I'm Justin Baldoni, and I'm here with LUK to play Ask Me Anything Within.
On December 9th, 2024, Justin Baldoni accepted an award for defending women. 12 days later, his agency dropped him, and the award was taken back. The harassment claims against him have since been thrown out, and he is still the one facing an $8 million bill. Last week, he finally broke his silence. Here's who this man was before any of it. Justin Baldoni was Hollywood's designated good guy. And I don't mean that as a joke, I mean it was a business. In 2017, he stood on a TED stage at TED Women in front of a room full of women and gave a talk called Why I'm Done Trying to Be Man Enough. 9 million views. It became a book about undefining masculinity. Then a podcast. For years, he called himself a feminist. Out loud, on the record, professionally, and on December 9th, 2024, a women's rights organization called Vital Voices handed him their Voices of Solidarity Award. That award, and this is their exact language, goes to remarkable men who have shown courage and compassion in advocating on behalf of women.
Congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
And girls. He stood on that stage. He took it. 12 days later, on December 21st, the New York Times published a story about a legal complaint filed by his co-star, Blake Lively. The headline was 4 words. We can bury anyone. That same day, his agency WME, who also represented Blake Lively's husband, dropped him. Within days, Vital Voices took the award back. His own podcast co-host quit. 12 days, from Male Ally of the Year to Radioactive. And at that point, he hadn't been accused of anything in a single courtroom. Not one. So, what was actually in that complaint? Lively filed it with California's Civil Rights Department. She said the set of It Ends With Us had become a place she didn't feel safe. And her side didn't just complain. They wrote a list, roughly 30 demands that had to be met before she'd return to work after the actors' strike ended. I'll read you 4. These are taken straight from the complaint. No more showing nude videos or images of women to Blake Lively or her employees. No more mentions of Baldoni's or the producer's previous pornography addiction. No more describing their own genitalia to her. And no more improvising kissing. Baldoni denied all of it. He has never stopped denying it. But here's the thing. That's not what blew this up. The allegations about the set were ugly. What allegedly happened afterwards is what turned a workplace dispute into an earthquake. Because Lively's lawyers had the messages. In the summer of 2024, before the movie was even released, Baldoni's team brought in a crisis PR firm. And Lively's complaint included the internal texts between his publicist, Jennifer Abel, and crisis manager Melissa Nathan. Abel writes that Baldoni wants to feel like she can be buried. Nathan writes back, "We can't write, we will destroy her." Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. And then the line that became the headline. You know we can bury anyone. 2 days later, Abel texts, I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with. Then August comes. The film opens. The internet turns on Blake Lively hard, and Abel messages Nathan, so are we in the clear now? Did we survive? Nathan replies, we survived. Now, before you decide anything, there's a detail in those texts almost nobody quotes. And it genuinely matters. When Nathan wrote you know we can bury anyone, the sentence didn't stop there. She added that she couldn't write that to Baldoni. She wasn't texting him. She was texting about him. He wasn't in that chat. his team has always said the messages were cherry-picked, that no smear campaign was ever actually launched, that, in his publicist's own words, the internet was doing the work for us. Lively says the damage was very real. Sales at her haircare brand, Blake Brown, dropped nearly 80% that August. Two stories, one set of texts, and no jury. Hold that thought, because then Justin Baldoni did the thing that decided everything. He didn't apologize. He didn't settle. He didn't wait it out. He attacked. He sued the New York Times for $250 million. Then, in January 2025, he sued Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million. $650 million in lawsuits filed by the man whose entire brand was listening to women. It was the biggest swing of his career. And it is the exact reason he's being asked to write an $8 million check today. Let me show you how. Here's what the court actually did. And almost nobody has explained this properly. June 2025. Judge Lewis Lemon throws out Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit. Completely, the New York Times case dismissed as well his entire counterattack. All $650 million of it. Gone in a single ruling. April 2026. Same judge, 152-page opinion, and this time he guts her case. 10 of Blake Lively's 13 claims dismissed. Sexual harassment, defamation, conspiracy. Justin Baldoni removed from the lawsuit as an individual entirely. So they both got destroyed. Just in different rooms, a year apart. But here's the part that should stop you cold. Nobody was ever cleared. Those harassment claims weren't thrown out because a jury looked at the evidence and decided it never happened. A jury never saw a single page. They were thrown out on legal grounds. Blake Lively was an independent contractor, not an employee that killed the federal claim. And the movie was filmed in New Jersey, not California, that killed the state one. Wrong job title. Wrong state. That is not he didn't do it. That is, you filed it wrong. And in that same stretch, the same judge made a finding about Blake Lively. He found that when she made her complaints, she made them without malice. He didn't think she was lying either, so read that back slowly. One of them was never proven guilty, the other was never proven a liar, and 3 claims survived. The retaliation claims, the alleged smear campaign, the texts. The burying. A federal judge looked at those and said, a jury needs to hear this. Trial was set for May 18, 2026. On May 4th, 2 weeks out, they settled. Blake Lively received $0, not 1 cent. And the smear campaign, the only allegation that survived every legal challenge, the only one a judge said 12 strangers deserved to weigh, was never tested. It just stopped. So now. The $8 million. That number is not damages. It's not a settlement. It exists for one reason only. Because he sued her. There's a California law from 2023. Its name is the Protecting Survivors from Weaponized Defamation Lawsuits Act. And it says something very simple. If you sue someone for reporting harassment, and you lose, you can be made to pay their legal bills. Baldoni sued. Baldoni lost. Last month, the judge ruled Lively qualifies. So she sent him the bill. $7.5 million in fees, $500,000 in costs. $8 million, $35,040. And there's your answer. He didn't lose the harassment case. He won that one. He lost the case he chose to start. If he had simply denied it and defended himself, there is no bill. That $8 million exists because he swung first, which brings us to last Wednesday. July 8th, Justin Baldoni posts to Instagram for the first time in over a year. 5 minutes long. Just him and his wife, Emily, sitting side by side. No lawyer, no statement read off a card. He says they stayed quiet on purpose, that too many painful things had been spoken into existence, and they didn't want to add to the noise. He says gratitude saved them, that they're healing, and that healing isn't linear. And then Emily says the sentence that detonated the internet. She says their family had to wrestle with how something like this could even happen, let alone disguised as a fight for women. Sit with that for 1 second. That is the wife of the man who won the Voices of Solidarity Award, an award given for advocating on behalf of women and girls, saying the case against him was disguised as a fight for women. Whatever you believe about him, that is the strangest full circle in modern Hollywood. And here is where he actually stands today. Blake Lively has said nothing. Publicly. Still nothing. Since December 2024, Justin Baldoni has not been publicly attached to a single new project. Not as an actor, not as a director, not one. In a year and a half, both sides reportedly burned around $60 million in legal fees. And today, the day you're watching this, his lawyers face a federal court deadline. They have to tell the judge whether they're paying that $8 million. Or fighting it line by line. So think about what that Instagram video really was. A man who technically won, with no set to go to, an $8 million bill on the table, a court deadline 5 days away. Talking to 4 million strangers because that was the only room he had left. And remember what Emily said right at the very end? There is so much more to say. That's not a man closing a chapter. That's a man clearing his throat. So where do you land? Is that a man who was genuinely wronged and is finally allowed to say it out loud? Or is that a man who fired first, lost, and is now asking us to feel sorry for him? Here's the uncomfortable part. Both of those can be true at the same time. That's exactly why this story refuses to die. Tell me in the comments I read them. And if you want the one piece of this that never got tested, the texts, the publicists, the campaign, a judge said a jury deserved to hear, that full breakdown is right here on screen. It's the question this case never answered. Subscribe if you want the story behind the headline, not just the headline. I'll see you in the next one.